This is the place to be.
Yeah.
This is the place to be.
Yeah. Innovationdays.
Welcome everybody, this is Morten from Inkish. Today I have the honor of meeting Paul from a Dutch company called Movigo, or you say it a little bit different because you have a Dutch
Movigo Robotics.
Movigo Robotics, and as you can hear from Paul already, we are going to talk about robotics, and we will get a little bit into in a moment why I think this company in particular is interesting to pay attention to. But first and foremost, welcome on Inkish, Paul.
Thank you, Morten. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. We met in Copenhagen just a month's time ago at the NON event, and you came in as a, I wouldn't say very last moment, but you got in a little bit because I'm not sure that you were totally aware of the NON event until our common friend Diego Diaz from HP told you about it, right?
Yeah, it was. I was non-aware of the NON event.
And now you got aware of it, and now I got to get aware of you as well. I have seen you because you were at Drupa, and you have been, I think you were also at D-Scoop. Before we talk about what you do, a little bit about your background. So who are you, Paul?
Who I am? Well, I'm Paul. I'm managing director and co-owner of Movigo Robotics. I am not a trained engineer, but I am technical and I like science. So we started Movigo Robotics about in 2018. So what is it? Almost 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. The last few years, I think 2.5 years, we've been focusing more and more on print on this industry because we got into contact with Jago/HP and their requirements and their vision, and we could add to that, and so the relationship with HP has grown and developed. And from now on, we're actually focusing almost exclusively on automation in print industry.
Fantastic, because one of the things I wanted to ask you was a robotics company in the printing industry. So are you a robotics company or a process company, a part of the printing industry company? I mean, where I mean, how do you let's say that you're going to make a presentation, how would you present yourself as a business?
Well, we present ourselves as a problem solver, and making processes more efficient. And we use robotics for that. Selling the robot, well, if I send you the robot, you just have a very expensive paper press, and that's not helping. So we design robots. We have software that is focused on supporting the business process, the production process within a print shop. And we offer the people, the services, the engineers to implement that solution in your company, because the customers don't have the knowledge to do that, and it's new technology and stuff like that. So to be honest, marketing-wise, the robot is the face of the solution. But we bring a solution based on getting your process, making your process more efficient, and also removing ugly jobs from your production process, things you don't want your operators to do, like hauling pallets through your print shop.
I think that's great, and I think it also puts things in perspective, because robots has been big industrial robots has been seen in for many years in the car industry, in the shipbuilding industry, in the heavy industries around the world. I think that the revolution about having both the AGVs, which is the type of machines that you do, and then you have the robot arms that is also seen more and more.
Static robots.
It's starting to become a eye opener for owners of printing companies, that this is something that is worth looking into. If you look at for example, the solutions that we saw from Drupa with you and HP, is it still something that is on the very early days, or is it something where you can see a return in your investment relatively fast on investing in robots?
You mean if you invest in a current, let's say in our robot solution? I don't want to sound like a salesperson, but
no, but that's
the
okay.
ROI, the ROI is huge. The ROI is huge because it's juicy bits first. You know, if you put in an extra press and you don't need to add an additional operator for the press, because the existing operator can also manage it, because he doesn't have the long walks, he doesn't need to worry about getting substrate, he doesn't need to worry about bringing pallets with printed media to the next stage, doing the finisher, then he can focus on the important stuff. And so the ROI is huge, and it's not only ROI, it's also improving the jobs. Because we see a lot of automation
quality and repetitive work and things like that.
Is, you know, people doing all day this.
Yeah. The reason why I'm asking is just because sometimes when I talk to people in printing companies, some of them say, yeah, but they are so expensive, and I'm just like, you know, if you have a robotic,
what's expensive? What's expensive?
Yeah, precisely. But when people say that, I'm wondering a little bit whether it is because I think that a lot of the printing companies in the world are still owner managed. And, you know, sometimes if a manager or an owner doesn't understand the processes, because now he cannot, you know, often I visit printing companies where the owner, he can go and operate the printing press, for example. Then he feels safe, because if there's an employee sick, he can do it himself, basically. With a robot, now we get into some technology that is way more complex, and maybe
but
needs a little bit of control out of you.
He's not printing with ink and plates. He's using a very expensive, highly complex digital press, and he's not afraid of that technology.
That's true. And the reason,
but the technology is just the tool. The technology is what we use to get a certain job done. The technology that we use allows us to bring a solution, which is platitude, I know, but it's a solution. You solve a certain you optimize certain parts of a production process. That's what you do. And sometimes people ask me, how does your robot navigate? I always say, very well.
Very well. Fantastic.
Because the technology we use to navigate is not important.
But Paul,
it needs to navigate.
But Paul, my point is that I agree with you in everything you say. My point is that when the robots is still seen as relatively new in the printing industry,
it is,
and it's still not something that you see in all printing companies. I'm trying to take out the painstaking discussion for an owner by understanding that what is it you do, and you just described it very well. That if you don't need to know the inner technology of what you do, as long as you can describe the process.
Yes.
As I understood from you before we turned on the camera, it was like the robot is maybe the face, as you say, but the software and the process and understanding the process from that. It is not just a matter of paper getting from the warehouse to the press. It's also understanding where is the press in its production. When do I need to remove the previous pallet and insert the new one? So that is the purpose. I'm trying to take out the painstaking that people may have as an obstacle for looking into it. Because when I see the printing companies that are using AGVs and also the static robot arms, I'm actually very surprised that not anymore is using them, because this is something.
Well, it's changing. Very much, The success after Drupa has been immense.
Okay.
Fortunately, also with the help of HP, and it's really, it's unbelievable what's happening. If you explain what you're doing and what you're solving, and also say no. You know, be honest about the limitations. We are not the ultimate, or no. We focus. These are the processes we support. This is what we do, and some things we don't do, and we can't do stuff like that. And then it's clear what you're doing, what you can solve, what you're offering, and it's complex. And be honest, I always tell my customers, my potential customers, listen, we bring 70% of the solution. You need to bring the other 30%. Because you can buy the most beautiful robots of 24 karat gold, but if you implement them wrong, they don't create an ROI for you.
Does that mean that when you, because maybe we should talk a little bit about that. So let's say that I have a commercial printing company in Copenhagen, and I have an Indigo press that can load pallets, and I'm sick and tired that my operator one, he's always sick, and I think it's difficult to find a new one, so I want to invest in a robot. What is the process from maybe just slightly before I make the decision that I need a robot, but what is the process of investing in a robot at all?
What I do to make it real simple is that I always I would ask you, okay, Morten, nice to meet you, but what is it you want to solve? I don't want to get drawn in some kind of technology discussion. What is it you want to solve? What's the pain you're trying to remove from your company? And then I get answers like, I can't find people. I want to use my operators where they are needed, so at the presses, and not going on a walkabout through the company 25 times per shift. Stuff like that. Those are the things you want to solve. Okay, how do you work now? Blah, blah, blah. What we try to do in a very early stage is there a business case? Is there an ROI? I can give you a budget. We quite quickly can see, is there, and just how many robots do they need? Is it very complex? And to be very, very brutally honest, and you know me a little bit, I am quite direct. If it's a bloody mess or too big a mess on the shop floor, all the robots in the world won't help you there.
Yeah,
you need to have your processes a little bit under control. You need to be willing to change them maybe a little bit to support, to actually, let's say, pick the fruits of your investment.
It's funny you mentioned that, because often when I talk to both Diego but also to other people that I know from the robot industry, I have always been like, okay, how many printing companies have you visited? Because when you talk about messy floors or unstructured way of handling your let's say your substrates and consumables, sometimes it is like, whoa. You should start somewhere else before even talking about robots, because you need to have, let's say, these things under control. On the other hand, I'm also curious.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there. Yes,
do that, please.
Visually, it may look like a mess in a fridge. That doesn't worry me.
Okay.
It's the processes.
Okay.
Do you know where your jobs are?
Okay. So to make it clear, because I was thinking first that a robot needs space to navigate. So your concern is more that the processes of understanding the process from what you do from, let's say, file to distribution, that is under control, because then you can basically clean up the place to make the navigation.
Yeah, it's if you explain that, okay, you always placed your 2 pallets always over there, would it be a problem if we move them 1 meter to the left or to the right? It can be as simple as that. That's visually, that's geographical.
Okay.
But so if you never register that a job is finished, how the hell should our robot then know that I need to pick something up at a cutting machine, at a guillotine cutter? How do I know that?
That's a good point, right?
Yeah, if you do it at the end of I give you an example of one of the shops I met. It was in the US. I visited. They measured the height of the leftover paper with a tape measure. Fine. He wrote it on a piece of paper. Fine. He put it in his trousers. Now I start to worry. I asked, what are you doing with a piece of paper? He said, well, I'm supposed to deliver it at the office at the end of the day, but sometimes I forget.
Oh man.
Maybe improve that. It's a bit of a funny example, but that maybe that example tells you what I mean.
Yeah, it's a very good example, and I think that it is. It's funny because I always remember this. You probably seen that where you see 2-3 guys having a carriage where you have square wheels on it, and then 2 guys stand next to them with the round wheels. Say, no, we're too busy. We don't have time for these music.
No, we don't need the round wheels. We're busy pulling a cart with square wheels. Stuff like that. So that's a very good example.
So basically, when you enter into that discussion about whether an ROI, whether a robot has a ROI, it is about understanding the processes, and that the processes are so defined that you can basically make a business case where you can actually show whether the robot can benefit the customer or not. Is that correct?
It helps when a customer, most entrepreneurs when they own a print shop, they know what their irritation points are. They know, man. They see again the guy that should be at the guillotine cutter is gone again. The guy that should run a Canon HP whatever press is gone again. The guy using the Horizon binder, where is he? Yeah, he's getting stuff. He's over there. He's having a smoke. And you think, oh, well, if I could solve that. Now, you need hardware that fits physically on your shop floor. So not a semi-truck that's too big that can't drive in your warehouse, but then you need small, that's technology.
And I can
And
tell
you need software.
but I can
You
tell
need
you
software to create a task so
Yeah.
that the robot knows what to do, and you need to implement it.
I can tell you that we visited a packaging printing company in Berlin in Germany, SurePack in Berlin. That is probably the most automated printing company in the world, and it was fantastic because it's like 2 or 3 Koenig & Bauer offset presses. It's like bobs, die cutting, and folding gluers, and everything is like really, really automated, of course. But I think that Klaus Madsen, who is the plant manager and the CEO of the company, said that because they have automated the process into the finest little detail of the process, the printing presses became 26% more efficient, right? So I mean, I think it's interesting because let's say there's an owner watching this film here, and we talk about the ROI of the machine. It's not just the ROI of the actual labor and understanding the process. It's
all reducing idleness of your equipment, and not only a press.
Yeah, precisely.
We have a new customer in the US, and their bottleneck is the guillotine cutters, and the operators walk away too much from the guillotine cutters. So if you can keep them there, the production of the guillotine cutters will increase. It's a very simple example. The same with your press. If you can reduce idle time of very expensive equipment due to the fact that the guy making sure the thing is running is always present, then it goes really quickly, especially in a multi-shift environment. If you run 24 hours or 16 hours, your ROI goes through the roof. We see ROIs of within 18 months.
Wow.
But now I'm talking like, now I'm sounding like a commercial, but that's
no, but I mean, I know that you said that you didn't want to sound too much like commercial, but I don't mind it so much because basically the reason why people should invest in this is because there is a commercial and financial reason to do so, right? But
otherwise don't do it.
Yeah,
otherwise don't do it. You're not there yet. If there's no ROI, no business case, and there's no entrepreneur who's going to invest in that.
Yeah. I have another question that I'm a little bit curious about because I mean, if you look at again, as I said to you before we turn on the camera, if you look at an AGV or a mobile robot from a layman's perspective, all of them look more or less like the same. And I know it's not. But what is it? Because I mean, I guess that of course you and HP would like to sell the Movigo robots because they have also been tailored specifically to the indigo presses and how that.
No, for print. They have been tailored for the print industry. Yeah.
Print industry. So what is it? I mean, so if you feel okay, I just go and find some Chinese robot, and then it probably just as good as yours. But that is not the case because you have spent a lot of time on understanding the processes and also the programming on how these machines learn to navigate. Maybe you can explain why the Movigo robots are something that you should maybe look into.
If you talk specifically about the robots, it's that the actual robot, the mobile, the AMR, is specifically designed to run in a print shop. That means that we can adapt the forks to the pallets you are using, because that's an issue. As I explained, the pallet challenge. We have designed a robot so that we can drive into a press and load pallets flush with the background of a press. Stuff like that. We have sensors on board, cameras on board to measure leftover paper, stuff like typical stuff you see in a print shop. That's the hardware side. Like navigation, that you can buy any navigation system. So now you have hardware that fits in a print shop that supports pallets that use them, and also trolleys, because we also have the same robot but with one fork, so you can put a trolley on it, a cart. So now you have hardware, okay. Now you have navigation on board, so the robot knows where it is. To be honest, that's the easy part. Now becomes the difficult part. How does it know what to do? When do you want the robot to do it? you have so many production flows in print, so many production stations, finishing stations you go to. Each order is different. How do you support that? That means something or somebody needs to tell it manually. Well, this is 2025. We're not going to do it manually. So yes, you can trigger an action manually, but to perform that task, so we don't do transport, we perform a task. And that's the difference. Transport is picking up from A, bringing to B, and doing it all day long. But what we do is conditional. I pick it up there only when the drop-off location is available. So I only pick up a pallet from a press and bring it to a UV coater when, let's say, the little buffer at the UV coater has a free space. Why should I... And all these different processes you need to manage. Now, that's where the software comes in. Less sexy, you can't see it. But that's the cleverness. But that's what we focus. I have way more software programmers on this payroll than mechanical engineers.
Fantastic. So, Paul, just to wrap up what we spoke about right now, if people see an AMR or an ATV, that doesn't mean that it can perform the same task as your solutions can. Because
I'm sure it can't.
Because
it's very arrogant.
Yeah,
it's very unmodest.
Yeah, but I'm just trying
in a
to
print shop.
Yeah.
In a print shop.
Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap it up. So you should not judge it from how it looks. And if somebody tried to sell it to you because it can navigate in a print shop, you can say, everything can navigate in the shop if it has been trained for it, right? So basically now we move to where Movigo and the collaboration with HP really makes a difference. And that is that it becomes an integrated part of your workflow. So it knows that the moment that you have a file ready for your press and it knows it needs this substrate, it checks, is the press free? Yes, okay. Is there an empty pallet or half empty pallet in the paper delivery? Yes, there is. Okay, we have to move that first before we can move in new paper. But when it takes it out, we measure how much it is and give it back to the MIS system, so we have a reasonable, good, up-to-date stock reporting on our substrate inventory. And now it puts in the pallet and tell the press, hey, the pallet and the paper is ready for that job now, so you can get started. And the press says, oh, fantastic, but I still have my finished job in the other end. Can you please remove that first? Now the AMR goes and takes up that finished piece of paper, and then it starts the machine, and basically the finished print is delivered to the next station in the workflow. That is how it works, right? So
more or less. But
it communicates the difference.
It communicates with different machines, and it makes sure that the required material is there at the right time.
Yeah, and that is
to reduce idle time, so that presses or lemon can run. Yeah.
And the reason why I try to cut it out in smaller pieces is just because I think that it is extremely important for an owner of a printing company to understand that this is not like a forklift where you have to push a button, or it's not like a MIS system where you have to click a button in order to make the next process. This can actually be pre-programmed to understand all these processes more or less as part of your other workflow.
You can integrate it. Yeah, it's integrated. You can integrate it. Yeah. We have multiple options, and of course, let's say the holy grail, or not the holy grail, but the ultimate solution is what we now have with HP. Yeah, that the press is communicating with. But if you don't have HP, or if you want our robots to bring something to a Horizon or a Bobst or whatever, or a Koenig & Bauer, maybe we can't drive in the press, but I can at least drop the pallet very close to the press or to the finishing device. Yeah. So you're still getting your ROI. Yeah. And how you create a task can be through integration, yes, but we do also a lot of vision to create a task. If there's no integration, I currently don't have an integration with Heidelberg. So there's no communication between my robot and the Heidelberg. So we use different technology.
And that, of course, depends on whether you make something that is vendor specific or something that can you work with your solutions via an API as well, or is
Yes.
that because that is often how the larger printing companies they make their workflows very specific to the requirements. So
We
basically,
use a lot of APIs. We
Yeah.
use a lot of APIs.
yeah.
Yes.
So basically,
both to machines or both to third-party software systems like
Yeah.
an MIS.
Yeah. So that basically means that let's say that you are a company where you have IT people as part of your setup. Basically, they can also, let's say, communicate via the API directly to the software, so it enables the machine to do specific tasks, which maybe
Exactly.
is not part of what the software out of the box can do. Basically, I get that. We got I think we got a quite clear view on the hardware, the navigations, and then what really makes Movigo stands out as a brilliant solution for the printing industry. And we spoke about a little bit about the process where you told me how you started talking to the printing company, looking into investing in this. Now, when a company has made a decision to invest in this, what is the process then? Let's say now they have signed an order and they would
They
like
signed
to
an
get
order.
it.
First they do is send an invoice for a down payment. No, but that's for the hardware.
You're very
No,
direct, yeah, you are. That's fine.
You ask the question if you
Yeah,
don't like
that's-
the answer. No, but how does it happen after they said, okay, we're going to create a project? So, of course, robots are being produced or are delivered from stock, depends if we have any. But the project, the whole implementation already starts with what we call, let's call it a project blueprint. We're going to sit down with the customer and say, okay, how do you want your fleet of robots to behave? Where do you want to start? What is the biggest pain you have? Where do we start? Okay, we're going to start there. So we're going to describe, let's say, how the solution is going to work. And that's important. Then we give some work to the customer. For instance, we need Wi-Fi, we need IT infrastructure, blah, 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 and stuff like that. We're going to explain to them how the solution works. Because, let's say, the people signing the checks or saying yes to the project are mostly not the people executing the project. So we're explaining everything, explaining they did not buy a Roomba, you don't open the box and say go, they need to do something. So we focus on project description, we train, we prepare everything, we create maps, we define pickup and drop-off locations, the whole infrastructure of, let's say, we're going to define the operational area of the robot. Once the robot is then shipped to the customer, we're going to create a navigational map, and we're going to test drive, we're going to see if task creation is okay with cameras, or even pressing a virtual button, or if there is an integration. And you're going to roll out, you're going to test the process. And then usually when we do a first visit to a customer, we leave, customer starts test driving, learns a lot, we see a lot of incremental let's say knowledge. Maybe it's better to do it like this. And after a time, few weeks, we come back again, we do fine-tuning, etc., do more training of operators, train shift supervisors, and then we take off the training wheels.
And how long
the lead time? Yeah, the lead time for that varies a little bit based on complexity of the project. But it usually takes you something between 3 to 5 months.
And when you have a solution in your experience now, working with HP in printing companies for a couple of years, when people looking into solutions, is it mostly more than one machine that they buy? I mean, the hardware side of it, or what is the most common thing that you invest in?
It's mostly you start with one or two. That's the bigger companies start with pilot projects on one location, and they buy 1, 2, 3, and then it's a pilot. When the pilot is successful, that will be followed up. If we don't mess it up, that will be followed up by, let's say, we now want to do that location and that location and that location as well. Well, one is the minimum, of course. That's an open door, but we see mostly two. It gives you redundancy.
Is investing in a robot, is that only for the larger players in the market, or is it for everybody?
No. There are just I won't call them small, but you have the corporates and the non-corporates, and it's 50-50.
50-50, okay.
Yeah,
but that
and
is,
even the decision to invest is often taken much quicker at a non-corporate company.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, there's politics. As Jago would say, there's a process.
Paul, last question, because we're running 30 minutes now.
Yeah.
When you got involved with HP and started in the printing industry, what has been the biggest surprise for you entering into an industry that you didn't know much about?
Very good question. The surprise was a positive one. I was impressed about print industry capabilities. And I was surprised how much is printed. The example that the Spanish lady, I forgot her name, the Spanish lady, I think she was Spanish, gave at close your eyes, imagine you're in a supermarket without print. You have no clue what you have no clue what you're eating tonight.
Yeah.
So that was the technology. I'm still amazed by that. And some things were typical production, because a print shop is, in essence, it's a factory, it's production, but it's a technology I like. It's the complexity of the processes and the capabilities of the industry, what the industry can do. Very impressed. And I'm really enthusiastic about it. I love print. I've been I've become a print aficionado within 3 years. Fantastic.
Amazing, and the reason why I asked you this was also because you know that many industries are facing issues and problems about making their industries attractive to young people, and I think that robotics and digital is part of the solution for many young people to get excited about the industry. But
it's a very good one, Morten. If I may interrupt you very shortly, maybe help. It's the only thing that print shops should work on, or maybe find some institution that helps them with that, is that there's so much high tech in print, but young people don't understand that. They still think that print is, they don't read books anymore, and they think that print is printing a book. No, it isn't. And that's something that I've took a lot of my colleagues to visit some print shops so they didn't know what they're working on.
But it's funny
they were
you mentioned
blown away by the technology.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because that, if you hadn't interrupted me, and it was great you did, I would have said that when I had brought my son to we were filming a printing company in Casablanca last year, right? And when we came to that large printing company, it was his first time he saw a big operation, and he was amazed by the machines.
Yeah.
He was also amazed about all the technology, also from a computer perspective, right? The workflow and all these things. And you're right, we should, as an industry, be better to explain that it's not just paper and ink, but it's also a very technology-driven industry. And with Movigo, I think that we will see more technology in printing companies in the coming years, right?
I hope so, yeah. I'm doing my best.
Fantastic.
We aim to please.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. It was great to see you, and have a wonderful weekend ahead of you, and all the best with both Movigo, but also with your relationship with HP, of course.
Okay, thank you, Morten. And I'm sure we'll meet again.
I'm sure too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.